Coucou la communauté des French learners. Hello, I'm going to speak in English today because it is the motivation break. It is time for the French learners, not me, the French learners, to share their experience with French, but also with other languages they have acquired. I think it is always inspiring and motivating to hear about others, to hear about the others, how they have taken on their journey, and so you feel you are not alone. So you can listen to this interview as a podcast as well. Go onto my site www.alisayel.com, and on my site there are also lots of resources. There is the membership, and you can acquire French naturally.
alisayel.com pour acquérir le français naturellement.
So today I'm very, very happy to have Alma with me.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm very happy too.
Hola.
Hola.
Hola, Alma. At the start, we were thinking about speaking in Spanish, maybe because there is a big Spanish community also wanting to learn to acquire French. But then we decided on English because so many people speak English now, and it's like the lingua franca, like Latin in the past in the world.
That's right.
And you speak English, Alma, but can you introduce yourself? Where are you from?
Okay, so I am Spanish. I am from the city of Granada, right? And yeah, I speak Spanish. Obviously, it's my native tongue. And then I learned English at school. Since I was very young, I started learning English. We all do. I started learning at school when I was around 8. But then at school, you don't really learn that much. I learned because I was interested in learning, and I just taught myself. Somehow I started acquiring English. You know, when I was around 11 or so, I think I started getting more interested, and slowly, you know, with music, with, you know, the help of my older sister, and later on with a native teacher, a conversation teacher, I started, you know, slowly learning. And by the time I was, I want to say 17, 18, I was already able to, you know, I would say I spoke pretty much fluently.
You speak very well English, Alma. I have a confession to make. I used to live in Zaragoza in Spain, yeah, and I have a very bad experience with Spanish people speaking English. Every time they spoke English to me, I couldn't understand them. You know, the typical, like, hello, how are you? And I was scared you would speak English a bit like that today. And people wouldn't be able to understand you. You see, I'm very stereotyped, sorry. And I'm really surprised because you speak English really not like the typical, you know, Spanish guy or...
Yeah, well, I have lived in England, in the UK for a few years. I studied abroad, so I went to the US when I was a teenager, and I studied English there. So that's why I always really loved learning English. I think it's such a useful language to learn. I think if you don't speak English nowadays, you're really missing out on so many things. And what you say about Spanish people speaking English, I think that is the case for maybe older people. I think the younger generations now, are much more in touch with the language. So even if the school system hasn't really changed much and the lessons are the same type of lesson at school, I think children, because they are always on the internet, I mean, now they are always on TikTok. And now, you know, that's how I know when I go on TikTok and I see Spanish TikTokers, you know, who are very, very young, how they use English phrases or English words. And I think they are much more in touch with, you know, that culture. And that's why I think in the future, you know, things are going to change. I think Spanish people are going to speak English, you know, like much more and better.
Yeah, it's true. I am old.
No.
I'm from the older generation, and at the time we didn't have YouTube, you're right. And YouTube has made, well, or the internet, TikTok, has made such a huge change in the way we approach languages. And I see my kids, they are also always watching YouTube, and I hear them now saying phrases in English with the right pronunciation, really sounding like American people. And you're right, and I'm sorry if I offended.
No.
I mean, we the French also have a strong accent, and we speak also badly English. I think also the old generation, we also had, I think we have the same like education system, you know, with languages, like learning the grammar rules and not much input. And we also are bad at languages in France.
Well, you know, I think even my generation. So I went to school I studied teaching, and I specialized in foreign language teaching. Right, that was my degree, and it was English. Foreign language teaching was basically English teaching, and my classmates in university, you know, the other students, a lot of them didn't have a good level of English. You know, a lot of the primary school teachers who, you know, eventually get a job teaching children, they don't have a very high level of English. You know, they might have I think they need a B2. But I think you can pass a B2 test if you train without really having a very good level. You know, like you can kind of pass the test. So I think it's true. A lot of you know, the older generations don't speak as many languages. I think nowadays with the internet, the children who grow up exposed to all the content that is available online, they have a much easier time, and they are just interested. I don't think they say, oh, I want to learn languages. They just learn because, you know, they just like a certain thing, you know, they like the music or the TV series or whatever, video games. I don't know what it is, but they find things that they are interested in, and they acquire the language naturally without even making a conscious effort, I would say.
Exactly. And that's my point, is that you don't have to make a conscious effort to learn a language. That's exactly my point. You have to find something that interests you, and also at first something that is comprehensible enough to you, that you can understand. So your English journey has been like self-taught.
Yes. Yes. So I started very young, and when I started out, there were not many. So I didn't have YouTube. I think we had internet. We first got internet at home when I was around 12. So that's when I started. Maybe what I would do when I was around that age is I would look for the lyrics of the songs that I liked, you know, and then I would like try to find the translation and stuff like that. Like really, I wasn't, like, oh, I want to know what it means, right? And then I would start seeing like I would understand a few sentences or a few words. And a lot of the times I would learn the lyrics of a song without really knowing what it meant, so it wasn't as comprehensible. So it took me a long time, I think, because as much like I would watch MTV, all these programs, I could pick up a few things, but not much, I couldn't understand a lot. So I think it took me a long time, I progressed really slowly because it took me a while to build up my vocabulary and to be able to really understand, because there was not as much comprehensible input.
Yes.
It wasn't, it was all authentic, it was all for native speakers.
Yeah.
But then, so that's why, but obviously through the years, I progressed, it's something that happened very slowly at first. And then I think I got to a point where when I was around, when I was a teenager, I think that's when I, maybe around 17 or so, that's when I started to really understand more. But yeah, it's something that it took me a while. With French, though, the story is very different. So I started learning French when I was 12. At school. So you start high school at 12 in Spain, and you have a choice to take French, and that's what I did.
And you had a choice between which languages? It's the same in France, but we have the choice between like Spanish and German usually. And
you don't have a choice between two languages in Spain. Well, I don't know what it's like now. I went to school a long time ago. But it used to be that you could take French, or you could take like math or Spanish reinforcement. So the kids who were a bit behind, who felt like they were a bit behind, they could get some extra help with their homework in math and Spanish. And then the ones who were doing okay, a lot of them chose to take French. So that's what I did. I took French, and throughout high school, the 6 years of high school, I took French, right? But so every year, I think it was at least a couple of hours a week. Yeah, I think it was always a couple of hours a week. I took French, and I never really learned to speak French, right? Because it was obviously the typical high school lesson where you have a book, like a textbook and a workbook, and you do the listening practice, and you learn how to conjugate some verbs and to fill out the blanks with the right verb, or to repeat phrases. And it was very uninteresting. It was not something that made you want to learn. And so the thing with French is that it's so many things are similar to Spanish, right? Like even if it's like phonetically very, very different, and the writing is might be quite confusing because of all the sound, all the letters that don't have any sounds and all that. It's a language that if you speak Spanish, you can pick up quite easily.
Yes.
Like right now I'm in Hungary. I'm in Budapest right now.
Great.
And so when I walk around and I see the words in Hungarian here in Budapest, like I cannot understand a word. It's very, very different. Whereas when I see French, it's easier to guess the meaning of words. And so I did pick up a few things. I did, became more familiar with the language, obviously, because every year we would start with the verb avoir, être, so it's like every year is the same thing. So I did get familiar with some things. But then I never moved to a French-speaking country. So I never really had to use it. I was never in that situation where I was like, okay, now I have to use my French. And so for a long time, I completely, since I finished high school, and that was it. Like my French, I was done with French. I never really tried to learn it again.
Yeah.
And only a few years ago, maybe around 3 years ago, when I started teaching Spanish online, I was like, maybe I should really take on French and see how that goes. And so I remember like really, I thought when I thought I should start learning French again, I thought I would have to start from zero. And I remember the first video I watched in French was like this video explaining E and N or something, like in French, like the when you use E or when you use
that's difficult one. It's very typical French. We have the E and the en to refer to places.
So I watched that. I remember watching that and being it's just, I don't like this, it's not interesting. And somehow I don't know what I was Googling, I don't know what I was looking for when I found your channel, when I found your stories. I don't know how I really cannot remember, but then when I started watching your stories, I was like, actually, I understand this. This is, I can understand all these stories. And then I started watching them regularly, like every day after lunch while I was having my cup of tea, I would, watch your stories. And I remember watching first the easy stories. Then I remember watching the like historical. So you did like a series where you talk about historical characters, French or characters from French-speaking countries, and I remember watching that and really enjoying that. That was a bit more challenging, but I thought, but I was ready to understand so I could understand everything. Like I remember, sometimes I would watch them twice. Sometimes I would watch them like without subtitles, and then I would use like turn the captions on. And I remember saying, oh yeah, I actually understand a lot now. Like I can actually, I think I slowly increased my vocabulary with your videos like that.
You gave two very good tips and experiences. First, you said you are a Spanish teacher. And as a language teacher, you wanted to also be in the place of the learner. And I think for all the language teachers who are hearing us now, who are listening and watching, it's so important. I think it's the best PD, professional development, to attend another language course or to acquire another language on your own. Because you learn so much, right? I'm also acquiring German and Portuguese, and I'm learning so much as a learner. I'm like really experiencing it and seeing, oh yeah, it's like that in fact. And and the other, I really like what you said, that you had a routine. Every time after lunch, you would watch a video. And I think it's so important to have a routine. To be consistent, right?
Yes, absolutely. You have to have a routine. I think that's one of the main things, because if you have to choose, I think this is not only with language learning, this is for everything. For everything you want to practice regularly, you need to turn it into a habit, in the sense that you don't have to decide like, oh, when am I going to do it? No, you have a set time every day, or however many times a week, and then you don't have to spend that energy deciding when you're going to study French or when you're going to study Spanish. You just have that, set time, and you just do it regularly. I think that is really important to have that, to also have, and if we talk about like key aspects or strategies to learn, I think developing that habit, having that routine is key. but also having a clear vision of your goal. Because sometimes what I think happens when people want to learn languages is that especially the ones who have not really discovered acquisition yet, language acquisition, they are caught up in learning, and they want to learn grammar. And I think what happens is that you lose sight of what you really want to do, which is communicate. You want to communicate. You don't want to be you don't want to get everything right. You don't want to understand every little thing. You just want to be able to communicate. And I think I have students who ask me ask me a grammar point, right? And I explain it to them. And if they find it confusing, they'll just spend so much time trying to crack the code and trying to understand it. And I say, don't worry about it. You don't have to understand all these pronouns. You don't have to understand all the subjunctive. And you have to just keep listening, because what you want to do is to communicate. I understand some people want to take exams, or they need to take exams for their to get into university or whatever. But I think if that is not your goal, if you're not required to take a test for a job or for a degree or something like that, if that is not your goal, if your goal is just to communicate, then avoid wasting your time in trying to understand little grammar points, grammar rules. I don't have a problem teaching my students. When they ask me about a grammar rule, I would answer, and then I say, that is the answer, but now I want you to forget about it. Don't think about the rule. Don't forget about what I said. You were curious about why this is, and I'm explaining why this is. But now what I don't want you to do is every time you talk to think about the rule. You don't have to think about any rules when you're talking. You know what I mean? So that's why. Yeah, so that's why even if I understand that when you acquire a language, you might become curious about the why. Why do you say it like that? Why, something sounds funny. I want to know why. Okay, I will explain why, but then you cannot be wasting your time trying to memorize that rule, trying to apply the rule every time you talk. You have to, trust that all you can do is listen and acquire it naturally, and that will be enough for you to communicate.
I totally agree with you. And usually most of the rules have exceptions too. So when you try to learn the rules and then you find out that there are exceptions, you might also be discouraged, because I mean, especially in France, there are always exceptions to the rule. So it's very hard to explain actually a rule. And the video you watched about en and e, it is actually better, as you said, to listen. The more and more you will listen, the more and more you will read, the more and more you will acquire those en and e, those two prepositions, naturally, subconsciously, without making effort to work out the rules.
That's right. It's like por and para in Spanish.
Yes.
Like I cannot be teaching you the difference between how many videos are we going to make about the difference between ser and estar?
Yes.
Like that is just like, let's just stop trying to learn a list of uses. It's really pointless. And it's funny with my students, the ones who have trusted me with the acquisition process, they are the ones who make fewer mistakes because they are not caught up in rules or translating words. It is unbelievable that, I have students who, when I had their first lesson with them, they were starting from zero, and I said, listen, this is how we're going to do it. I'm just going to tell you stories. I'm going to, and you're just going to pick it up slowly. I'm not going to be teaching you rules. I'm not going to be teaching you conjugations, or they don't even know what conjugations are. And just by repetition, they learn the phrases. They hear me repeat a certain phrase so many times that they just learn it. And they are not, but if you present to a complete beginner, you present that dichotomy of ser and estar, you start confusing them from the very beginning. Whereas if I say, estoy muy feliz, estoy muy cansada, estoy triste, then they just learn that is the use of estar with a mood,
Exactly.
And then so common uses will be obvious. They will become really evident because it's so common. So that's how you learn. You learn by frequency, by coming across really frequent words and phrases.
Yes. So I guess the other tip is to trust the process, to trust that acquisition works, and it's actually less painful than learning the rules and so on. And and also what you said about having a clear goal. Remember that you are here to communicate. I think that's so important. And it's actually funny you said that, because on the membership we have a chat. We chat about, learners can share their experience, and one new member said his goal is to read Monte Cristo, Le Comte de Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, not the simplified version, really the authentic version. That's his long-term goal. And I think that's such a great goal to have. It's really concrete, and it's really okay, I'm here to do that. Not, my goal is not to learn the grammar rules, and also you can also have a goal to pass the B2 test, but in that case you're going to practice for the test, and it's different from acquiring the language, I think.
Yes, it's very different. I honestly think ideally you would learn a language, you would try to acquire a language first, and then you think about getting tested, right? That's what I did in English. Like, I never studied English for a test. I just learned it. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to take a test now. What sort of test? How do I train for this test? But I think learning a language, it can be so much fun, just easy, stress-free. You just listen to it, and it's just really rewarding, because when you start to understand, it's almost like a new world is opening.
Exactly.
I think it's really interesting, because you learn about a different culture or different cultures. When I kind of moved on from your videos, which I still watch your stories and your videos and everything. I like to go back to those. But I slowly started watching other channels, like podcasts, who were podcasts for learners, for French learners, but they were not about grammar. They were podcasts about different topics that were not related to language learning.
Can you give us the names so the people who are watching us can also, if they are interested?
So I started watching Inner French.
Yes.
Then I discovered Piece of French.
Oh, I don't know this one.
Okay, so Piece of French is a vlog type of channel, she's a French girl, young woman, who makes videos of her daily life in French, but it's comprehensible.
Okay, great.
I really like watching French vloggers, like real non-adapted content. But they speak much faster, and sometimes it's just harder to understand. So I like to mix it up. I think I always tell my students, adapted content that is made comprehensible might not be the most thrilling one. Like you might want to mix it up. You need that content. You need the easier, more comprehensible content. you can mix it up with things that are a bit more, maybe a bit more challenging, but are maybe a bit more interesting. So yeah, I think it's good to have I have a YouTube account only for French, and I'm subscribed to only French channels, so I can go there, see my subscriptions and see, okay, what do I want to watch? I have easier, I have harder, and depending on my mood, I can watch one thing or the other.
Is it a private French account or?
Yeah, no, it's I don't have anything. I don't post anything. It's just like for me to so it's with a different, so I have a different email address to sign up, and then I only subscribe to French.
And would you be willing to share it for the others so they can see what you
what I follow?
I don't know if it's possible.
Yes. I just don't remember what is the name. It might be the French Diaries. It might be the French Diaries.
I will put the link in the box, in the description box. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't post anything. It's just me following people. So I guess that the subscriptions are people able to see the subscription list. Maybe I'll check. I'll make it public.
Okay,
anyway.
we'll check. But that's very interesting what you say about mixing the content. I do the same, with German. I have very easy content, comprehensible. So when I feel discouraged, or I listen to it and I feel better because I understand it. And I have things that interest me, but that are more challenging to understand. You're right. That's very good idea.
And I think for us as teachers, teachers with comprehensible input, for us the challenge is to create content that is engaging, that is interesting and comprehensible at the same time. I think it's funny because I think for beginner students at a very, very beginner level, I think anything is interesting and engaging as long as you understand it.
Yes.
So even the very simple stories, I have, in my experience, and when I see at my channel, the comments that people leave in my channel, it is the very, very easy stories that get people saying, "Oh, this is incredible! I really understand this." So and the stories are not particularly, interesting, but I think the fact that you can actually follow the story and like it makes it automatically engaging,
Well, and your stories are funny, Alma. So you have a YouTube channel, for those who are watching us and hearing us. You have a YouTube channel in Spanish with comprehensible input in Spanish, because I have lots of subscribers and members on my site who are asking me for Spanish. So go to see Alma, Spanish with Alma, right, on YouTube.
That's right. Yes,
I will put
Spanish
the link in the box. And yes, you have different types of stories, and I think your beginner stories are fun to watch too. I've been watching some of those, like the girl with the nut in her head, and then there is a nest, and she doesn't want to cut her hair. It's a funny one.
Well, yes, I try to, I try to make them interesting or to make them funny. I think it's really fun when you can understand humor in a different language. It's really really rewarding.
How did you start your channel? Can you tell us why and how did you start your channel?
Well, I think I started my channel when I found yours, like after I had found yours. And then I really liked it, and I really liked that style, and I really liked the way you talk so slowly and so clearly, and the sound quality is very good. And so with the stories, you know, like I found Marie Medo,
Yes.
and I really liked it, and I thought I need to make a series, and then I started creating a series, and people really liked that. You know, it's very, very simple, but it was because of that. I thought, I saw your channel. I had also found Dreaming Spanish. I don't know if you know Dreaming
Yes.
Spanish,
Yes.
you know.
I've met also Pablo a few times. Yeah.
So now I also make videos for Dreaming Spanish.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I
Mhm.
will also put the link for Dreaming Spanish because there are tons of videos
That's
for
right.
different levels. Yeah.
Yes, there are, you know, you have super beginner, beginner, intermediate, advanced. So it's really fun. You can find videos about anything in Dreaming Spanish. There's so
Yes.
many of them, like topics, so many topics are covered. But yeah, I think that's, you know, when I saw your videos, I thought I want to create something similar. And so I started doing that also because I wanted my students to have that, you know, like I can send that to my students. I can give my students that sort of content. And now my idea, so I really want to continue creating stories with drawings because people seem to really like them.
Yes.
But I would also like to make more lifestyle type of videos. So today there's going to be a video published where I show my Budapest apartment. So the apartment where I'm staying in Budapest this month. So, you know, it's just a little tour. So I show the kitchen, the balcony, the living room, just very, very easy. I think people like to see sometimes a bit more of the teacher. You know, they've been following someone for a while, they've been watching the videos, and I think when the teacher shows a bit of their life, I think that's really interesting. I absolutely love your cooking videos. I don't even cook, you know, I don't even cook, but your cooking videos are, are amazing. I love to say you have I think when you used to live in Germany, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And you have some videos there, and you're making this French. What is it called? I forgot. The one with the cherries. What is that?
Le clafoutis.
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 Yeah, I loved it. I loved all the cooking videos. I find them somehow really relaxing, you know, like even if I don't cook, it's like, oh, this is just so pleasant. I personally think French is just such a beautiful language to listen to, that anything sounds better in French. You know, I know you must have heard this a lot of times before, because it's something that, you know, I think the world agrees. But I really love the cooking videos, or the videos where you're walking around, maybe you go on an excursion and you take your camera and you're showing a church or showing a part of town. I find those really really interesting. So yeah, so seeing that, and seeing also the channel Piece of French, where the girl shows you around her day or whatever, I think that is actually a really good idea. It's like a vlogger, like a lifestyle vlogger, who shows you the things that they do around, in their day, and make that easier, make it more comprehensible. So yeah, I wanna start doing that a bit more, and hopefully. What I would like to do with my channel is to show people my city, to show them Granada, to show them Spain,
it's such
the
a
culture.
beautiful city.
I think it's people who learn a language, they also want to know about the culture and the countries where that language is spoken.
Of course, it's part of the language. It's not just some words, like some words next together. It's also the culture, the way you live. It's everything, a language. You're right. And so we talked about how you have a routine in French for acquiring French, and how you understood, you started to understand more and more. So these are the good, the positive points, the ups, yeah. Have you experienced or are you experiencing any downs, or are there times when you are discouraged or?
I think for me is sticking to the routine. That is harder. It is basically that. I used to have a language exchange partner, so we would speak French for a bit and then we would speak Spanish. It was just a yes. So, but we used to do that online during the pandemic, and we started doing it. But this girl was in the US, I was in Spain, and there were so many hours, like there was a 5-hour difference. Yeah. So so then I ended up quitting. I was like, I feel like by the time it had to be done late in the evening, and my brain is just not working that well in the evening.
Oh,
so I had to say,
that's strange for a Spanish girl, Alma.
I know. In many ways, I'm not that Spanish. Like, I'm more of a morning person. Yes. So the evening for me to have my French practice in the evening, it was not, so I ended up saying, let's just leave it for now. And that was really sad because I think it was useful. I don't really practice speaking that much. I think because I still need to do more listening.
Yes.
I think I need to do more listening before I can, start speaking confidently. But it doesn't matter because you can still do the language exchange just and getting that input from the other person, even if I talk back in English or in Spanish. Like initially that was my idea. My idea was to do crosstalk, where that person talks to me in their native language, and then I would talk back in my native language, and we would learn from each other. So she would be speaking French to me and I would be answering in Spanish. But I find crosstalk really complicated. I find it confusing.
That's interesting.
Yes,
because
I find it...
they say, I know Pablo Roman from Dreaming Spanish is a big fan of crosstalk, and he says that you feel relaxed because you don't have to answer in the language, you just have to understand. And you can answer in your own language, so you should be more relaxed. But you find it complicated. That's interesting, Alma.
Yes, I find it complicated, not the part that is listening. So you're listening and you're understanding, but then the fact that you need to reply in your own language in a way that is comprehensible to the other person.
Yeah.
I find it too, I'd rather just talk back in a language that the other person speaks perfectly or understands perfectly. And so we can just focus on my understanding of French. That person could just focus on talking to me in French without thinking that at the same time she needs to be learning Spanish. So basically, just like a lesson where, like in a lot of my lessons with complete beginners, I'd be speaking Spanish, like 95% of the time, and they'd be talking back in English. A lot of the times because they don't know how to reply in Spanish, which is fine, but they understand me. They are acquiring by understanding what I say with my pictures and my images.
Yes.
I haven't really tried crosstalk that much. Like I would give it another go to see if it would work. But I think with my language partner, it was, like we ended up doing was having 2 different times, 2 different hours. And, 1 hour was for Spanish and 1 hour was for French. And that was it. We would focus. So the Spanish hour, I'll be focusing on her, getting the input. We would be practicing Spanish, and the French hour would be all about French.
And how did you find that language partner, Alma?
I found her on Instagram.
Okay.
So, so she's a French teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good idea to have a language partner and to try maybe crosstalk. I haven't tried it, so I can't share my experience with it, but thank you for sharing it. And you're right, but first I think, yeah, we always forget that we need a lot of input first before being able to speak. And I think we always want to jump that, and we are always eager to communicate. But if we look at babies, they start speaking much later, after hours and hours and hours of input. So I think it's important to remember that to communicate in a natural way, yeah, without struggling, we need hours and hours of input first.
Yeah, we do. And it's fine. You don't have to rush it. You can enjoy the process. I think as children do, it's good to repeat sometimes. You know how babies, children, when they're learning to talk, they try, they say words, they say phrases. I think it's good to, you listen to a phrase, you repeat it, you try, you test yourself in how well you can pronounce something. Or you might learn a song, or you might learn whatever. So it's not bad to do a bit of repetition, but that is one thing, and it's a different thing to think, oh, I'm gonna do a little, I'm gonna write a whole letter, I'm gonna just have a full conversation in the language. It's very, it's very different. I think it's true. It's okay to just wait until you're comfortable enough and confident enough to speak. What I like to do in my lessons, and this is something that obviously you get if you have the right teacher, is that to give my students a bit of that, because they want to talk, right? They want to.
Yes, of course.
So what I do is I create a really controlled environment where they can so they can talk to me in Spanish by me giving them two options, or by me making them really, really easy for them to say, to answer my question, right? So we create a lot of stories in my lessons. So if we create a story one day, the following day I might start telling the story again. And I might make mistakes, I might say, the main character is Mexican, but he's actually Peruvian or whatever. And then they might say, no es mexicano, es peruano, or whatever, so they get that little, that they get what they want,
that
they
interaction.
Get the talking part.
And I have to say that I also co-create stories with my students with Express Fluency, and also on my live classes, and also on my membership. Sometimes we meet every month and we co-create a story together, and the same, they have option. The learners have options to create the story. They choose the character, they choose the place, they choose the problem. Exactly, yes. So we have an interaction, but as you say, it's kind of controlled.
That's right.
And then they don't have to think too much about the sentence or a complicated sentence, to say, you are here and I am here to help them to create those sentences.
That's right.
To develop those sentences. So I will put the link to your lessons if people want to take lessons with you. I think they will, after what you said. I'm sure they will. And to your YouTube channel, Alma.
Perfect.
Okay, so where are you in your French journey now, Alma? Where do you think you are? So you understand a lot now?
Yes, so I understand quite a bit. I think I haven't tried to speak in so long. I would have to get a teacher to start talking in an environment where I know I'm not going to be judged. They're not gonna, they're gonna be patient. They're gonna, they're
so
gonna help me.
important. Yeah.
I think at first it's all about that, like finding someone who makes you feel relaxed and you can try and talk. But but I need to do that to really know where I'm at with my French. I don't know how much I can say right now because I haven't really done that speaking practice. All I do is really listen.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So I would like to do more for my French. I'm now in a period of lots of changes, but hopefully soon I'll have a more established routine, and then I do want to do more for my French and make it increase the time that I spend on it every week. And and maybe at some point, who knows, spend a bit of time in France. It'd be lovely to see to experience the culture and be in a completely French environment.
Yes, and it's true that we have a life and we have changes in our life, we have things happening, and so sometimes you have to put your language journey or in a corner for a while, but it's okay, I think, because your brain remembers. It's like riding a bike. Yeah, when you acquire a language, it stays in your brain forever. So it's okay, you won't lose everything if you have a break.
No, you won't. I think as long as we spend a lot of time on the internet, as long as you don't completely lose, I think you can stay in touch with the language, stay in touch with it, even if it's just by subscribing to certain channels, and then when you're getting ready in the morning or you're having your breakfast, you watch your video, and that's it. Like, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can sometimes be like, oh, this is all I can do this week, but I'm gonna do it. So but then you try to make it a habit, and that's it.
Thank you so much, Alma, for sharing your experience, for sharing your tips, so many useful tips. I'm sure the learners who are watching us and hearing us are so inspired now. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
De nada. It's been a pleasure.
And are you learning Hungarian then? Also?
No. I'm just here for just to enjoy the city, but I'm not gonna make that attempt. I think that's too. I don't have the commitment.
I've never been to Hungary nor Budapest, but it's said to be the second Paris. It's like Paris, Budapest. Is it right?
I don't know. I think nothing compares to Paris, to be fair. Like, Paris is Paris. Budapest is great. It's a really great city, especially when the weather's nice. And but yeah, no, it's great. It's a really great place to visit. I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, so do you have something like, do you want to recommend a book, or maybe you have a quote, an inspiring quote to share to end this conversation, Alma?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I don't know.
Or do you have something to say just to close this conversation?
Well, just I guess I just want people to know that you can learn French, you can learn Spanish, any language, without stress, without any sort of really big intellectual effort. You can make it enjoyable. You can make it very pleasurable. If you just need to find what's right for you, the content that you enjoy, that you like, and just keep working on it, and have have faith, trust that process, because you eventually learn like that. Your brain is made to acquire language, so you will eventually acquire that language, even if you're not making a conscious effort to learn or to memorize.
Thank you so much. This is the best way to end this conversation. Thank you. Yeah, it's so true that to be relaxed, to trust the process, and to know that it is going to happen at the end. Like your mother tongue, yeah? If you acquired your mother tongue, you can acquire any other languages. That's so true, Alma. Thank you so much. Share in the comment if you also experience the same as Alma. Do you have a routine? Do you watch a video or 2 videos at a time in the day, like Alma does after lunch? Did you start learning a language with the lyrics of songs? Like Alma did with English? Share in the comments, share your experience. Also share if you want to acquire Spanish. Alma, I'm sure will check out the comments and might answer you. And share if you have also done crosstalk and what was your experience with it. It's always so interesting, I think, to know how a specific approach works, right? Okay, so thank you so much. Have a great time in Budapest, Alma.
Thank you.
And again, to listen to the podcast, go to my website, alisayel.com. And if you want to acquire French naturally, without stress, go to my website. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Adios.